guys, and welcome to the next installment of How to iDefine, the place where we take you through how to use iDefine and how to get the most out of it. Today we're going to be looking at requirements. Not the most fun thing to be looking at as an engineer, but a necessary part. So we're going to crack on and see what we can do with iDefine with respect to requirements. So if you remember where we left off and we were simulating the traffic lights going red, amber, green, then amber and going round. We want to start putting some requirements against this functionality and maybe improve some of the aspects of it as well. So here we are on our front page. We do have a tab for requirements on the left, but I'll come to that later. So if you go to Tools at the top and then down to Requirements, you get a new window, which is your requirement window. I'm going to make this big. And what we're going to do, on the right-hand side, you have your Details window. And you want to click the New button in order to create a new requirement. You then add the requirement name, so this is usually a numbering, I've called it here TLS-001, and then you want to add a description to that as well. Now you can see a based on drop down on the right. At the moment there will be nothing to base this on because it's a top level requirement, so there's nothing above it that we need to link it to. That's what based on does. It says this requirement is under this requirement. So now I've added that description, I'm going to fill out a bit of a scenario as well for this requirement. Now the scenario is something that just describes a little bit about the requirement, might give you some terms and conditions or some measure of performance or anything you think is relevant for this requirement, just to bulk it out. After writing out all your scenario and everything, you want to click Save. And the requirement will appear on the left. Now, I'm going to create a new requirement, and straight after I'm going to use based on and base it on the one that I've just created. And I'm just going to quickly write out the description. And as you can see, when you press save, the requirement now comes under the requirement that you based it on. So we can create another one now. And we can do exactly the same thing. Type it out, add a description, add a title and a scenario, and then base that upon the same one, and it will come under that one as well. Okay, so now through the power of post, I am going to create a new requirement. And in this requirement, I'm going to show you what comes with all this software. So you get this thing called extra sections, and what you can do is imagine in documentation that your description and scenario are headings in a document. If you add extra sections, you can add extra headings in that document when you produce one. You could also think of it in terms of columns in a database. So if you've used doors before, you'll be familiar with this. You can add extra columns in to express different things about requirements. That's basically what this is, and you can think of it like that as well. So you can see here I've created a comments and diagrams tab, and those will come out as sections. Now I can add things to them in the right hand compartment there if I wanted to as well, and that's what I'm going to show you now. So all these tools that you get across the top are much like what you get in Word or other Office applications. For example, you can add bullets, so just create 3 bullets here and then select the bullet icon. Or you could add pictures from your file explorer and just add them in there and rescale them. Or you can add symbols or anything usually, numbering, anything that you usually get in a Word document, you can pretty much do in there. Now this is a key point. This area here is for linking to other areas of the tool. So for example, you can link to modules, and I can link to the module we created in the previous video. I can say what the precursor is that will come out in the documentation, and I can then add that to there, and it's also a link in here in the tool. So you can now open the module from your requirement, and you can have that direct link through the entire tool, which is really handy when it comes to justifying your requirements with the things that you've created in the tool, because that link is there and it's readily available. Now I've just deleted all of that stuff because it's not needed for our requirements for this project. But there is one more thing I do want to show you, which is down at the bottom on the right hand side, you can see a Programs and an Actions and Components tab. In the Programs tab, you can see all the different variables that can be linked to this requirement, things like the priority or the start and end date or the state of it or who's been assigned to that, and its current percentage as well. So you can link all of these things to that particular requirement, and they'll provide that necessary traceability and impact analysis that you can perform. What's more powerful is the Actions and Components tab, where you can capture any changes or deletions or updates or whatever you want as actions, and that will come out in reports as well. Now, the Components tab is where you can physically link any of the other components in the tool. So modules, we'll go to modules again, and there's our module, and we can add notes to how this requirement relates to that module. So what aspect of it is relevant for this requirement, how it's meeting this requirement, how it's justifying it, and things like that. And we can add that directly to the requirement and create a physical link to the model, which we can also run as well, as you've seen. So you now have full traceability all the way through, from requirements all the way down to actually implementation potentially, because you can output code from this tool as well, which I'll get to in a later video. And I'm just showing you here the different areas that you have. You have function blocks, modules, simulations, whatever you want. So before we go, I'm just going to show you a quick result, what happens when you add all these requirements in and how it looks. And you can see I've got 3 high-level requirements and multiple sub-requirements underneath those. They're just based on those 3 high-level requirements. So that's it for today, guys. Please like and subscribe, and check out the other tutorial videos if you need any more help on anything to do with iDefine. And I will see you in the next one.